Breaking news. A U.S. federal judge has just blocked a major immigration decision linked to Donald Trump, and this ruling could impact more than 350,000 Haitian migrants living in America. The decision has sparked a political storm, raising serious questions about deportation policies, humanitarian safety, and the future of U.S. immigration law. Experts warn this case could reshape how America handles migrant protection programs for years to come. Before we break down this explosive development and reveal what it means for the United States and global immigration policies, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with your friends and news community. Because here, we bring you fast, sharp, and deeply analyzed global political updates that truly matter. Your support helps us continue delivering powerful and trusted news analysis. In a major legal and political development in the United States, a federal judge has blocked a controversial immigration decision connected to former President Donald Trump's policy agenda. The ruling has temporarily protected more than 350,000 Haitian migrants currently living in the United States from losing their legal status and facing potential deportation. The case revolves around a federal immigration program known as Temporary Protected Status, commonly referred to as TPS. This program is designed to provide temporary legal protection to migrants who come from countries experiencing extreme crises, such as natural disasters, armed conflicts, or severe humanitarian emergencies. TPS allows eligible migrants to legally live and work in the United States while their home country remains unsafe for return. According to court findings, the Trump administration attempted to terminate TPS protections specifically for Haitian migrants. Officials argue that TPS is intended to remain a short-term solution and should not be extended indefinitely. However, the federal judge reviewing the case raised serious concerns about how the administration attempted to cancel these protections. The judge ruled that the government likely failed to follow proper legal procedures before making such a significant policy decision. Court documents suggest that constitutional protections and administrative law requirements may have been violated during the process. Because of these concerns, the judge issued an immediate order stopping the termination of TPS benefits for Haitian migrants while the legal case continues. This decision is highly significant because TPS has been a lifeline for thousands of families who have built their lives in the United States over many years. Many Haitian migrants protected under TPS are active members of the American workforce, contributing to industries such as healthcare, construction, transportation, and service sectors. Losing legal protection would not only impact migrant families, but could also create workforce shortages in certain regions. Legal experts say this ruling highlights the growing role of the U.S. judicial system in shaping immigration policies. Courts have increasingly become battlegrounds where executive immigration decisions are challenged and reviewed for constitutional compliance. The judge's order does not permanently settle the issue, but temporarily blocks policy enforcement until a final decision is reached after full legal arguments are presented. Political analysts believe this case could have long-term consequences for future immigration policy decisions in the United States. It raises broader questions about executive authority, humanitarian responsibility, and the balance of power between government agencies and federal courts. Supporters of the court decision argue that humanitarian protections must remain in place while Haiti continues to face major security and economic challenges. Meanwhile, critics claim that extended TPS programs risk transforming temporary immigration relief into long-term residency without congressional approval. As the legal battle continues, the lives of hundreds of thousands of migrants remain uncertain, and the outcome of this case could set an important legal precedent. The final ruling may influence not only Haitian migrants, but also other immigrant communities protected under similar federal programs. This developing story remains one of the most closely watched immigration cases in the United States, with potential political, legal, and humanitarian consequences expected in the coming months. In order to fully understand the controversy surrounding the Temporary Protected Status program, it is important to examine why the Trump administration pushed to end TPS protections for Haitian migrants in the first place. The administration's argument was centered on the original purpose and legal framework of the TPS program itself. Temporary Protected Status was created as a short-term humanitarian immigration solution. It was designed to provide temporary relief for migrants whose home countries were facing extraordinary circumstances such as natural disasters, armed conflicts, or severe instability. However, Trump administration officials repeatedly emphasized that the program was never intended to function as a long-term or permanent immigration pathway. According to administration officials, TPS protections for Haitian migrants had been extended multiple times over the years, gradually transforming what was originally a temporary protection into a long-standing residency arrangement. The administration argued that continuing to extend TPS would undermine the original legal intent of the program and weaken overall immigration enforcement policies. Another key argument presented by the Trump administration focused on the claim that conditions inside Haiti had improved enough for migrants to safely return to their home country. Government officials stated that while Haiti continued to face challenges, the level of crisis no longer justified maintaining emergency protection programs on such a large scale. The administration maintained that immigration policy must balance humanitarian support with national immigration control and enforcement priorities. Ending TPS protections was also part of a broader immigration strategy aimed at tightening border security and reducing long-term migrant protection programs across multiple nationalities. During this period, the administration pursued several policies focused on increasing deportations, reducing asylum approvals, and limiting programs that allowed migrants to remain in the United States for extended periods without permanent legal status. Supporters of the policy argued that strict immigration enforcement was necessary to maintain the integrity of U.S. immigration laws. They claimed that allowing TPS programs to continue indefinitely could encourage future migration flows and place additional strain on government resources, employment opportunities, and public services. However, critics strongly opposed the administration's position. Immigration advocacy groups, humanitarian organizations, and many political leaders argued that the administration underestimated the severity of Haiti's ongoing challenges. They warned that ending TPS protections could place thousands of migrant families at risk of deportation to a country still struggling with political instability, economic collapse, and public safety concerns. Legal experts also questioned whether the administration conducted a fully objective review of Haiti's conditions before deciding to terminate the program. Several lawsuits were filed challenging the policy, ultimately leading to federal court intervention. The debate over TPS reflects a larger national discussion about how the United States should balance immigration enforcement with humanitarian responsibility. It also highlights the complex challenges policymakers face when temporary emergency programs evolve into long-term immigration protections. As the legal fight continues, the decision to end or extend TPS protections remains a critical test for U.S. immigration policy. The outcome of this dispute could shape how future administrations handle temporary humanitarian immigration programs and determine the long-term future of thousands of migrant families living across the United States. One of the most critical factors behind the federal judge's decision to block the termination of temporary protected status for Haitian migrants was the current humanitarian and security crisis unfolding inside Haiti. The court placed significant emphasis on the dangerous conditions in the country, which officials believe could pose serious life-threatening risks if migrants were forced to return. According to multiple international reports and humanitarian organizations, Haiti is currently facing one of the most severe national crises in its modern history. The country has been struggling with escalating gang violence, widespread political instability, and a collapsing economic system that has left millions of citizens in desperate conditions. The court carefully reviewed these reports before reaching its decision, concluding that sending migrants back to such an environment could create immediate humanitarian dangers. Gang violence has become one of the biggest concerns in Haiti. Armed criminal groups reportedly control large portions of the capital city and surrounding areas. These gangs have been linked to kidnappings, extortion, armed attacks, and violent territorial conflicts. Security experts warn that law enforcement agencies in Haiti are currently overwhelmed and lack the resources to maintain control over many affected regions. The judge cited these security breakdowns as a major factor when deciding to block deportations. Political instability has further worsened Haiti's crisis. The country has experienced ongoing government leadership struggles, delayed elections, and institutional collapse. Without stable political leadership, the ability to restore law and order has been severely limited. International observers have repeatedly warned that Haiti's governance system remains fragile, creating uncertainty about the country's ability to protect returning migrants. Economic collapse is another major issue highlighted in the court proceedings. Haiti continues to face extreme poverty, high unemployment, food shortages, and limited access to basic healthcare services. Humanitarian agencies estimate that more than half of Haiti's population currently requires some form of emergency humanitarian assistance to survive. These conditions significantly reduce the country's capacity to safely reintegrate large numbers of returning migrants. The court acknowledged that temporary protected status was originally designed specifically for situations like Haiti's current crisis. The program exists to prevent forced deportations when migrants would face serious threats to safety, stability, or survival in their home country. The judge stated that evidence presented in court strongly suggested that Haiti remains unsafe for mass repatriation. Immigration advocates and humanitarian organizations supported the court's reasoning, arguing that deporting migrants under these circumstances could lead to severe humanitarian consequences. They emphasized that many Haitian migrants have lived in the United States for years, built families, and established employment, making forced removal even more disruptive. Critics of the ruling, however, argue that humanitarian concerns must be balanced with long-term immigration enforcement strategies. Some policy experts warned that continuously extending TPS programs without clear timelines may create challenges for future immigration planning. Despite the ongoing political debate, the court's decision demonstrates the growing importance of humanitarian conditions in shaping U.S. immigration rulings. The final outcome of this legal case will likely depend on how courts continue to evaluate Haiti's stability, security situation, and economic recovery progress. As Haiti's crisis continues to evolve, the future of hundreds of thousands of migrants remains uncertain, making this one of the most closely monitored humanitarian immigration cases in the United States today. Another major dimension of this controversial immigration case involves serious allegations of bias and legal violations connected to the decision to terminate temporary protected status for Haitian migrants. According to court findings, the federal judge raised concerns that the Department of Homeland Security may not have followed the legally required procedures while attempting to cancel TPS protections. During the legal review, the judge carefully examined how the decision to terminate TPS was made by the Homeland Security leadership. Court documents indicate that there were questions about whether the agency conducted a fair and unbiased evaluation of Haiti's current conditions before announcing the policy change. The judge suggested that political influence or predetermined policy goals may have influenced the decision-making process instead of relying purely on humanitarian and factual assessments. The legal challenge filed by migrant advocacy groups argued that federal law requires government agencies to follow strict administrative procedures before implementing major immigration policy changes. These procedures include reviewing current country conditions, analyzing humanitarian risks, consulting official data sources, and providing clear justifications supported by evidence. According to the lawsuit, these steps may not have been fully followed when the decision to cancel TPS protections for Haitian migrants was announced. The judge stated that preliminary evidence presented in court suggests that the migrants challenging the decision have a strong legal argument. Because of this, the court issued a temporary injunction that restores TPS protections while the case moves forward through the judicial process. This means Haitian migrants will continue to receive legal work authorization and protection from deportation until a final ruling is reached. Legal experts say temporary injunctions are typically issued when courts believe there is a significant possibility that the plaintiffs, in this case, the migrant communities, could ultimately win the lawsuit. The court's action does not represent a final judgment, but signals serious concern about potential legal violations during policy implementation. Another critical issue raised during the case involves the broader constitutional principle of fairness and equal treatment under the law. The judge emphasized that immigration policy decisions must follow consistent legal standards and cannot be influenced by discrimination, political bias, or incomplete analysis of humanitarian conditions. This part of the ruling has drawn significant national attention as it highlights the judiciary's role in monitoring executive authority. Supporters of the court's intervention argue that immigration policies must remain grounded in legal transparency and humanitarian responsibility. They believe the ruling protects vulnerable migrant communities from abrupt policy changes that could disrupt families and livelihoods. However, critics of the ruling argue that the judiciary may be interfering with executive authority over immigration enforcement. Some policy analysts claim that immigration decisions should primarily remain under the control of federal agencies and elected leadership rather than judicial oversight. As the legal case continues, both sides are expected to present additional evidence and arguments regarding whether the policy decision followed proper administrative and constitutional standards. The Department of Homeland Security has indicated that it may challenge the court's ruling through higher courts, potentially escalating the case into a prolonged national legal battle. The final outcome could establish an important legal precedent, shaping how future immigration policy decisions are reviewed, challenged, and implemented across the United States. The federal court decision blocking the termination of temporary protected status for Haitian migrants has triggered a significant political confrontation across the United States, further intensifying the already heated national debate over immigration policy. While the ruling temporarily protects more than 350,000 migrants, It has also opened the door to a prolonged legal and political battle that could influence the future direction of American immigration laws. Shortly after the court's decision, the Department of Homeland Security announced its intention to appeal the ruling. This means the legal fight is far from over and will likely move into higher federal courts, where judges will review whether the administration had the authority to terminate TPS protections. Appeals of this scale can take months or even years to resolve, leaving the legal status of thousands of migrants uncertain during the process. Political leaders across party lines have responded strongly to the ruling. Supporters of the decision argue that the court has upheld humanitarian values and protected vulnerable migrant communities from being forced into dangerous conditions. Many lawmakers and immigration advocacy groups believe the ruling demonstrates the importance of judicial oversight in ensuring that immigration policies follow constitutional and humanitarian standards. On the other hand, critics of the ruling argue that it undermines executive authority and limits the government's ability to enforce immigration laws effectively. Some political leaders believe that immigration policy decisions should be determined by elected officials and federal agencies rather than courts. They warn that repeated judicial intervention could create long-term challenges for future immigration enforcement strategies. Beyond the immediate political conflict, this case carries far-reaching consequences for the entire temporary protected status system. TPS currently protects migrants from several countries experiencing crises, including natural disasters, armed conflicts, and humanitarian emergencies. If courts establish stricter legal requirements for ending TPS programs, future administrations may face greater difficulty modifying or terminating these protections. Immigration policy analysts suggest that the outcome of this case could influence how the United States balances humanitarian responsibilities with immigration control in the future. If courts ultimately rule in favor of migrant protections, it could encourage broader legal protections for individuals living under temporary humanitarian programs. However, if the government wins its appeal, it could strengthen executive authority to end such programs more quickly. The decision also has economic and social implications. TPS holders contribute to the U.S. workforce in key sectors such as healthcare, construction, hospitality, and public services. Any large-scale policy change affecting their legal status could impact labor markets and local economies, especially in states with significant migrant populations. As the legal process continues, immigration will likely remain one of the most politically sensitive and debated topics in the United States. The final outcome of this case will not only determine the future of Haitian migrants, but may also shape the broader structure of humanitarian immigration programs across the country. This developing situation is expected to remain at the center of national political discussions, making it one of the most important immigration policy battles currently unfolding in the United States. As this legal and political battle continues to unfold, the future of U.S. immigration policy hangs in a delicate balance. The final court decision could reshape humanitarian protection programs, influence executive authority, and impact the lives of hundreds of thousands of migrant families across America. One thing is clear: this case is not just about immigration. It is about law, politics, and human rights intersecting at a critical moment in U.S. history. For more powerful global political analysis, fast-breaking news updates, and deep investigative coverage, make sure you support the channel by subscribing, hit the like button, and share this video with your friends and news community. Your support helps us continue bringing you trusted, sharp, and impactful news content. Stay informed, stay aware, and we will see you in the next major update.